Hello, everybody. It's Darreck again with Dallas Prospect, and unfortunately, obviously, if you're a Cowboys fan, yesterday wasn't a good day for you. Now they had everything in front of them. They had the entire, almost everything that could have broke right for Dallas. They found a way to squander, which is incredibly disappointing. I mean, you look at everything that happened. I think there was only one team that ideally was needed to lose in front of them, and if the Cowboys won out, they had it. It was right there to have. If they could have beaten Seattle and then next week gone to Philadelphia and beat them, and then I think all you needed was Atlanta to then lose to, I think, Carolina. And, I mean, that's plausible. It was right there. You had Zeke back. You survived without Zeke for 6 weeks. Yeah, you went 3-3, but, you went 5-3 before you lost them. So you had it. It was all right there in front of you. And, man, other than turnovers, the defense did everything you could have possibly wanted from them. DeMarcus Lawrence continued to wreck the game. They did, I think, even though the defense had an incredibly efficient day. I know you look at the scoreboard, you're like, well, they lost 21-12. Yeah, those were 21 points off turnovers, which I'll get to. The defense had a very good day, but I still think had they had David Irving, he's missed 3 straight games now with a concussion. That's a hell of a situation. Anytime a guy misses that many games with a concussion, there's concern. But, in his case, he suffered it early in the last game he played, which I believe was New York? No. He suffered it early in the game he played, passed protocol on the sideline, went back in, and then it was after the game when he was retested that he was no longer passing. So that probably complicated it there. But nevertheless, he's missed 3 games now. I think as good as the defense was, he could have wrecked the game even more for Seattle to the point where they couldn't have bounced back from that. But, it is what it is. Seattle, as I said before, gets 21 points off turnovers. And now this loss is on a lot of people. A lot of people, justly so, put the blame for the season, not yesterday. Yesterday was not anything wrong with his performance. Ezekiel Elliott gets blamed for the season because everything from his actions, even if, regardless of what you think on the domestic abuse thing, alleged domestic abuse, even if you don't believe that's actually the case or that's what happened, the dude has made himself an easy target by just continually doing dumb stuff. We know about the, punching out a DJ supposedly or allegedly again at a nightclub, pulling the girl's top down at a St. Patrick's Day parade. He's just made himself an easy target to be made an example. He held this over the team's head all year. He fought it for half the year. Then he finally had to serve the suspension for 6 days. Even when he came back, he didn't seem very contrite. He just kind of had the approach of, I'm sick of talking about this. I'm not going to talk about it, which, if you go out and you do your job, I guess maybe that can fly for some people. And again, yesterday wasn't on Zeke. Zeke was fine. 24 carries, 97 yards. Pretty solid. Not a blow me away game, but considering you've missed 6 weeks of action, that's the best you can hope for. The problems yesterday were numerous. 21 points off turnovers. Let's talk about where those turnovers began. Dez Bryant. I'm sorry, I know there are so many Dez Bryant apologists. I know that people will continue to give him benefit of the doubt after benefit of the doubt after benefit of the doubt. People will say Dak can't hit him They'll claim that Dak is the worst accuracy quarterback ever, and he's got problems. He's still growing and developing there. I'm not excusing Dak at all. Trust me, I will get to Dak. People make excuses for every missed catch by Dez. Doesn't matter if it hits him in the hands, the face mask, one hand, two hand, doesn't matter. They will make excuses. They will tell you Dez is still elite. It's just that Dak isn't getting him the ball where he wants it, or that he's not accurate often enough, or that he misses him when he is open. Now, I'll say this, Dak does have a tendency for check down this year that wasn't there last year, and it's infuriating. I understand that. But Dez Bryant, when things were going all right for the offense in the first half, they're moving the ball. They're not getting touchdowns, but they're still converting. They go up 6-0 on 2 Dan Bailey field goals. I think one from like 43 and one from 51. They're moving. They're moving the ball. They're doing all right. You see Dez coming off the field. He's animated. He's angry. He's cursing. And, star players always want the ball. We know that, right? At that point, he had 2 targets, no catches. But rather than just make sure he gets open or speak privately, he instead turns into prima donna Dez on the sideline, which we haven't seen a whole lot of in recent years, but it does rear its head every now and then. And it's just a distraction. You see Cole Beasley over there trying to talk him down. Cole Beasley's had his own frustrations throughout this season. And yet you see him over there basically trying to calm Dez down. It's not working. You see Dez yelling at coaches, and you just like, man, put up or shut up, make a play. Well, Dez finally catches the ball, makes like a nice 8-9 yard gain to about midfield, and then he shows some of the worst fundamentals in that scenario you could. He's carrying the ball loosely with his inside arm, his left arm. He's heading to this right, to the sideline to his right, and he lets who was it, Maxiel? He basically falls for the peanut punch. Ball knocked out. Seattle recovers for the first turnover of the game. And this is right before halftime. Probably 4 minutes until half or something like that. So Dallas Dallas starting a new drive, pretty much already at midfield. Looks like they could get a stranglehold on the lead at this point. And instead that happens. Seattle marches the short distance and gets a touchdown to Jimmy Graham. That is what it is, man. That really takes the momentum out, because at that point Dallas was statistically dominating the game, and instead they're now trailing 7-6. But they got a couple timeouts and a little over a minute left. Dallas then makes a nice drive, gets down the field, sets up another Dan Bailey field goal, I think again from 51. Knocks it through again, I think banked it off the upright. So Dallas actually recaptures the lead before half, 9-7. And you're like, okay, well, I'm not happy about giving them a touchdown, but at least we're still ahead. That wouldn't last. Dez, man, people were livid after that fumble, but that wasn't even anything compared to what was still coming. So later in the game, I'm just talking on Dez. I know I'm going to kind of jump back and forth a little bit for each person I talk about, but that's fine. Later in the game, Dez makes a great play. It's like a 29-30 yard scramble. Dak rolls out. Again, we've always said Dak is better in terms of his accuracy on the move. He's rolling out to the sideline. It's one of those flush from the pocket, Tony Romo looking plays, except instead of just resetting his feet, Dak keeps moving towards the sideline, and he finds Dez inbounds for a sliding grab 30 yards downfield. Beautiful, beautiful play, and we're like, okay, yes, there it is. There is the elite wide receiver flash we needed. Now take this game over. I'm not sure if it was the next play or 2 plays after that. Now, this play gets equal blame for me because Dak throws a bad ball. Troy Aikman, if you listen to him, Aikman would tell you Dez did everything perfect and not at all on him. He might have gone to the perfect spot where he was supposed to go, but as far as what happened when the ball was thrown, you can't tell me Dez doesn't get blamed for that. It's one thing if you don't make the catch in that scenario. It's another to do what he did. So Dak throws it. It's a little behind Dez. Dez sits down, has to reach back here. But Dez is wide open. There's no reason he either shouldn't, A, catch the ball. If you're an elite receiver paid like that, you need to catch that ball. There's no reason he shouldn't either, A, catch it, or B, at the very least, bring it down. Bring it down. If he can't catch it, knock it off the turf, something so it falls incomplete. What he does instead, clips it off his hands, soft layup right into the arms of one of 3 Seahawks in the area. Interception again. So Dallas had gotten to the 30 and then throws a pick at roughly the Seattle 20-yard line. I mean, just back-breaking stuff. Seattle again drives the length of the field. This was the only significant drive, really, I felt the defense gave up. But Seattle drives the length of the field and pretty much punches it in again. Oh, and along the way, again, I know I'm talking Dez right now, but we'll talk about how Seattle got its 3rd touchdown. So that was Seattle's 2nd touchdown. One from about 40 yards out, and then one where they actually did have to drive the length of the field. That said, Seattle, well, that pretty much wrapped up Dez's impact for the day. Dez, nothing else really on the day. I think 2 catches for like 43 yards because of the one really nice catch. But he gave up he gift wrapped an interception. He had another drop that was bad as well. And then he had the fumble. I mean, it was an abysmal day. 3 catches for 44 yards for Dez. It was an abysmal day for Dez. And with everything on the line, I'm sorry, that's not an elite player production. There are so many Dez apologists, and he's had 2 years now of not looking like a consistent elite player. Now, if we're counting regular season games, I saw the stat go up during the game. I don't know if it's true. I actually want to look into it because I could have sworn the Lions game last year, Dez did break 100 yards, but it said something crazy like 21 or 24 straight games since Dez last recorded 100 yards receiving. Regular season, again, he did it versus Green Bay last year in the playoff game. But, I mean, I had a hard time wrapping my head around that. I was like, man, I get it. All 24 of those are with Dak, not Romo. And people are going to say, well, see, there's your evidence right there. It's not that Dez is declining. It's that Dak can't get him the ball. They can't utilize him properly. Or it's the coaching staff's fault for not running the right routes. I would partially agree with you on both of those. Partially. Dak is not Romo when it comes to accuracy or chemistry yet with Dez. Will that continue to improve? Yeah. But in the meantime, you're paying Dez, who's about to turn 30. I think he's 29 right now. You're paying him $14 million a year. I think it might even be 17 next year. It's stupid high, and his production is terrible. His production is that of a number 2, depending on the team, maybe number 3 wide receiver, and that's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. He's also had his string of injuries in recent years, so I don't know. Something's got to happen there, and at the very least, the dude's got to be taking a pay cut this offseason if he wants to stay with the team. That's just my opinion on it. They also should look at drafting a new number 1, although he's not going to be your number 1 no matter who you draft. Even if it's Calvin Ridley, he's not going to be a number 1 when he walks in. It's going to take a year or 2 for him to ascend to that role. Moving on. Dak, I said it. He wasn't accurate. The pick 6 he threw on a check down to Zeke. It's one thing to be king of the checkdowns, as he's been for large stretches of this season, but to check down and overthrow a check down 6 yards in the air so that it sails and is intercepted at your own 30, like to miss so bad that the guy intercepting the check down catches it 15 yards away from where your running back is, that's unforgivable. That is a cardinal sin right there. Coleman, I think it was, walks it into the end zone, gives Seattle a now 14-9 lead at that point. And that was the Dallas's first drive of the game, 3 and out. They got the ball, said we won it, 3 and out. Their first possession of the second half, pick 6. You cannot execute any worse than that. So that's one of Dak's picks. His other, we talked about, Dez. It's a little hard and it's a little behind him. But Dez just literally volleyballs it up into the air for any one of 3 Seahawks to just say, thanks. Got it. Mine. That was the backbreaker there. When the second pick happens, I think there's like 5.5 minutes left in the game. Maybe it was even more than that. But man, when that happened, I just was like, it's not happening. It's not happening today. They're not going to close this out. And that's the feel it had. I mean, all momentum was gone. Every time Dallas started to mount something, they went away from it. Speaking of going away from what was working, Dallas obviously no touchdowns on the day. But now let's get into the next phase. Oh, here, real quick. Dak, 21 of 34 for 182 and 2 picks. That's bad. Somehow not as bad as some of his other games, but that's really bad. So now let's get into going away from what was working. Seattle, as I said, takes the ball down the length of the field, goes up 21-12 at that point. Dallas somewhere in the middle there, when they were down 14-9, gets another field goal from Bailey, makes it 14-12. So it's a two-point game, 1 possession, 1 field goal puts you ahead. Dallas drives the length of the field, or excuse me, the point I'm bringing up now, Seattle is already off of that second pick, the one Dez gift wraps. Seattle goes down, scores a touchdown. And it's a fade, I believe, a fade route against Cheeto. First of all, as I've said, the Dallas defense was excellent all day. Excellent. They didn't get turnovers, but they were stagnant. And the fact that Seattle won this game is so unreal because I think they averaged 2.5 yards a play. Total offense, they had like 136 yards. Dallas had never lost a game when its defense did that to someone. NFL history, I think 9 games ever someone has won a game like that. It's just insane. Russell Wilson, 14 of 21, 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's your difference. Wilson also was the leading rusher, 9 for 29. You kicked them in the teeth and you held them down. Baldwin, their best receiver, 4 for 35 and a touchdown. The Dallas defense, particularly the cornerbacks and the defensive line, and Sean Lee had a game too. But these guys did everything you could have asked of them. And that's why the only coach who is saved my ire this week is Rod Marinelli. Again, I would like turnovers, but it's a young secondary, so I'm willing to believe and bet that they just need more time to grow and develop, and it'll improve on its own. Fine. Moving on. Now we move to where the game was lost. You're down 21-9, or excuse me, 21-12. You're down 9 points. You get down 1st and goal to the 3. Nice Jason Witten first down catch. Well, on 3rd down, gets you first down. 3 straight plays. You go quarterback run. I don't know that it was a designed run. I believe it just broke down. But Dak gets a yard. So now you're 2nd and goal from the 2. Shotgun. Terrible play call. I don't even care. I don't care if you have Tom Brady. That's a terrible play call. Ask Seattle. They can tell you. You're down at the 1 or 2 yard line. Should only be one thing you're thinking about. You've got an elite running back. Only one thing you should be thinking about. Dak compounds this and makes it worse. Rolls out. Just tries to stretch the play out. Throws it away incomplete. Or is that what he does? No, you know what? That would be giving him credit. Dak rolls out. Takes a big sack. 2nd and 1, or 2nd and goal from the 2 becomes 3rd and goal from the 22. Because he just keeps rolling away, and it's a brain fart. There's nothing else you can say. It is an inexcusable brain fart. Next play, okay? What are we going to do? How are we going to answer? And it's a 6-yard check down to Jason Witten. What are we doing? Audible boos rained down from the crowd. And you know what? It was incredibly well deserved. 100% deserved. The complete collapse of the coaching staff. I don't know what Scott Linehan was thinking. I don't know why Jason Garrett didn't overrule him. And they'll probably come out sometime this week and say, well, you know, it's kind of difficult to run in that situation when they're expecting you to. You have a top 3 running back in the league behind what you and many others consider the best, or at least one of the 2 or 3 best offensive lines in the league. Run the ball. If you don't want to give it to Zeke for God knows why, give it to Rod Smith, a goal line specialist. Horrendous coaching decision. So, okay, we're going to have to settle for a short field goal, something like 34 yards. Then Dan Bailey decided, you know what? I think I'm in New York again. Missed a 34-yarder. That's an extra point. That is, or maybe it was a 39, whatever. But he misses a chip shot. Dan Bailey had missed once in his career inside that distance. Misses it. Badly. Hooks it wide right. And people, at that point, I was like, it's over. There's no chance. Seattle gets the ball back, runs a little bit of clock. Dallas gets the ball again. Again, uninventive play calling. Settle for another field goal. Oh, look at that. He missed another 30-something yarder. Fantastic. So now he's not anymore. There's no way he is with his recent stretch. But Dan Bailey was the NFL's most accurate kicker of all time. There's no way. I don't know if he's just not healthy. His quotes in recent weeks suggest he's fine. I don't know what happened to him. Hopefully that fixes itself and he's able to get back on track. But long story short, the coaching staff failed. The game was lost right there. You were already in a tough spot, but your defense was playing in such a way that you had a real chance. And what it came down to was Dallas couldn't get into the end zone, settled for 4 field goals. Abysmal coaching decisions. Dak playing like crap. Dez playing like crap. But you know what? Dak's a rookie. He's a second-year player. Not even 2 full years yet. He'll get better, and he's not making jack. That's why Dez is so egregious. And if you want to tell me it's a situation where, well, Romo could make Dez a Pro Bowler. He could make him one of the best receivers in the league. Well, guess what? Romo's gone. Romo's retired. He's not coming back. He's not. So I'm already sick of your argument there. But let's go a step further. Even if Romo was still in the league, again, he's not here. It doesn't matter. But look at a guy like T.O. Terrell Owens. Yeah, he had a couple years with Romo when Romo was very good, not yet elite. And he had a couple years, about a season and a half really, with Donovan McNabb when he was elite. Yes, T.O. had his issues, and yes, in some senses, he was a locker room cancer. But Terrell Owens could take a mediocre quarterback, and he could make him at least look competent. T.O. made Pro Bowls with garbage quarterbacks. He got yards, he got touchdowns, he made plays. You can show me stats saying Dez is getting separation. You can tell me the coaching staff just isn't running good routes for him. I can agree with those things, but I can also tell you plays like yesterday, ball hits him in the hand, 2 drops, one of which he drops right into the breadbasket of a defender. His fumble, that's not Dak. The fumble, that's not Dak. That's Dez being sloppy and being overly emotional. He made a play, yeah, and that's been about what he's done each game the past few weeks. He'll make one play. New York, a guy just activated off practice squad, blew a tackle. Dez takes it 50 yards to the house because there's no safety over the top. Bad defensive call by the coaching staff for New York, and an inexperienced guy with no business guarding against Dez, who is still a big, strong receiver. That's it. Oakland, he makes the one nice falling on his back catch on the sideline there when Dallas needs to close the door. Great play. Other than that, not much. This game makes the sliding 30-yard catch. Great. But then right when you wait for him to take over and do something, he at least plays a hand in giving the game away. That's not elite. He's not Antonio Brown. He's not Julio Jones. He's not even Larry Fitzgerald, with Fitz being older and in his, waning years of his career anymore. He's not elite. I would argue he's not even a number 1 receiver anymore. But because you're paying him to be, I don't even know what the solution is. No one's going to want his contract. 2 more years, at least $14 million each year. Coming off injuries like he's come off of, showing the production he's shown. No way. No one's going to want him. And even if they did, what do you think you're getting back for him? If someone offers you a trade right now, you're not getting a 3rd rounder for Dez. You might, if you're lucky, get a 5th. His one play every couple games might be worth that. I don't know. But this team needs to address wide receiver, and I want them to do it in the draft. I don't think you're getting Calvin Ridley because I don't see them taking a receiver in the first pick for them. They have needs. They still need a guy on the D-line. They still need a safety. We'll get to that in a moment with an interesting sub-story that came out of this game. They still need linebacker help behind Sean Lee because you saw what happened just losing him this year a couple times. The defense implodes. So that is what it is, man. You need your guys, and there are a lot of needs on this team. Wide receivers among them. The only way I'm taking a wide receiver in the first is if I'm in a scenario, kind of like they were this year in the draft. They really wanted, who was it? I'm drawing a blank on his name. I would have rather had TJ Watt, by the way. Although Taco did come on a little strong late in the year. I'm actually a little bit encouraged by what he's showing right now. They wanted someone else, and they kind of got caught in a bind where he got taken right before they were up. And as a result, they were forced to decide between Taco and TJ Watt. Again, I think they might have made the wrong choice there, but only time will tell on that front. If we end up in a situation where the best defensive end or whatever we want isn't available, but then the best receiver is still there, has fallen to us, then maybe I'd take a look at it. But he's got to be a guy who can, above all, stretch the field. Dez can't do that anymore. Terrence Williams isn't even that great at doing it anymore, and that used to be his specialty. He wasn't a guy that was going to get you a lot of catches most games, but at the very least, he could stretch the field a couple times a week. So that's off the table. Beasley's an underneath route runner. Slot, just short gains, shifty. Witten's slowing down considerably. He might have a year or two left. Might. So you got to take a look. You need someone who can stretch the field, and you don't necessarily have to take that in the first round. If you're looking for a potential new number one, maybe you do, but it's just talent evaluation. So if you can keep Will McClay, keep looking, you'll probably find something. So, yeah, it's a tricky situation because there are a lot of needs. You got to do something. And I don't have a lot of faith in this coaching staff or Jerry Jones right now. I know Jerry's won Executive of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. That inflates his ego, no doubt. But of this coaching staff, the only guy saved from my ire right now, he's had issues this year, but when it came down to it, his guys did their thing, and I don't have any problems with him. That is Rod Marinelli. Scott Linehan, I'm done. I cannot. That's a fireable offense. Your play calling from the 2, from the 3, 1st and goal from the 3. Equally, Jason Garrett. Man, we are 8 years into this experiment. When you have everything in front of you, when you have one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league, you prove you can do something and be serviceable, at least in the regular season. Hell, the one playoff win you got was against the Detroit Lions, and that was because they melted down and their own coach made horrendous play calling decisions as well. So I don't even really want to give you that one, but it is what it is. Record book gives it to you. So Garrett and Linehan, I think their time needs to be done, but here's the problem. It won't be. Jerry Jones continues to put his full support behind the coaching staff, and he continues to say, well, I know and I can understand the frustration, but they are, and we do, because Jerry has a lot of gibberish filler words that don't mean anything. But they have his full support. And this isn't like kind of the kiss of death full support you get from some coaching staffs, where it's like a vote of confidence, and then like 2 weeks later the coach is fired. McAdoo, perfect example of that. It's not that. It's Jerry legit standing behind his people because he's so desperate not to be proven wrong. It's the same reason we don't have damn blinds or a screen on those stupid glass doors, because Jerry doesn't want to admit he built a $1.25 billion stadium the wrong effing direction. Build it north-south. There's a reason every other stadium in the league is built that way. If you're not playing a night game, you're screwing your team. By the way, that did come up a couple times last night too. It wasn't something that cost them, a critical catch or something. But you did hear it a couple times where Seattle players complained about it, and Jerry's sitting there like, our advantage. Not really, dude. Dak's interception, Dak's pick 6 he throws, pretty sure he was staring into the sun. Again, not making excuses. You still missed your guy 6 yards over his head and 12 yards downfield. But whatever. I don't have faith in this coaching staff outside of maybe Marinelli. And I don't have faith in Jerry Jones. So, we'll see what happens. Still a very young team. Still got a lot of good talent in certain spots. They'll franchise DeMarcus Lawrence. He with one game left, I think has 14.5 or 15 sacks now. If he's not the league leader, he's second. They'll franchise him. That's already been everything I'm hearing says that's their plan. And they'll have to re-sign David Irving for something. They'll need to re-sign Anthony Hitchens. They got to re-sign Zach Martin. They got an expensive summer ahead of them, but you know what? Dak's making popcorn money. Zeke's making, he was a number 4 overall pick, so he's still decently paid, but not near what his talent would say he probably should be paid. So you were fortunate enough to luck into that kind of scenario. The Seahawks won a Super Bowl when they did because they had key young players making popcorn money, which allowed them to spend money elsewhere where it was necessary. And that's kind of why that sun is setting on them. So you got time, but you got to act quick. You got a year or 2 left of that. Get a new wide receiver. Get a safety. Okay, let's jump onto that. After the game, there was a weird moment where Earl Thomas ran down the kind of corridor towards the Cowboys locker room, and he catches up with Jason Garrett, and he says something interesting. He basically says, hey, when Seattle kicks me to the curb, come get me. If you can, come get me. And, a lot of people, they're like, what? Earl Thomas wants to be a Cowboy? Isn't this like tampering automatically? Like tampering with yourself? That doesn't sound PG at all. I don't know what to make of it. Earl Thomas is under contract with Seattle through 2018. So it's an interesting thing, I think. Now, we do need a safety. I don't care what anyone says. Byron Jones is not your answer at safety. He needs to be a cornerback for you. It might be time to admit you misfired there. Jeff Heath, he's a bit of a ball hawk and can make some plays, but he's also a guy who takes poor angles at times and whiffs on tackles. He came up big late in the year for you, saved you in Oakland last week, but he's not a guy you can really build around either, I don't think. So I don't know what's going to come of that. All I know is it's interesting. I've heard in the last year Richard Sherman say he would, or not him say, but his people say he would like to be a Cowboy. That one won't happen because of his age, his money, and what the Cowboys invested in cornerbacks recently. They still need a safety, and whether that's Jones or Heath, I'm probably thinking it's going to be Heath just because they want a guy that can, Earl Thomas can lay the wood too, so I don't know. I don't know which guy you keep there, but I wouldn't hate it. He might only have a couple of years left of elite talent in him, but man, like I said, your window for Dak and Zeke, it's a couple of years. You got to do it while they're on rookie contracts. Otherwise, you're going to be really hard pressed to rebuild. That's why I always hated Romo getting $100 million deals. I think he got 2 in his career, or maybe the first one wasn't, but it was still, I thought, paying your quarterback too much. You can't pay a guy that much money at the very top and still flesh out a Super Bowl roster most of the time. Sometimes you can get away with that, but I think it shows on record that doesn't work out for you most of the time. So we'll see. Dallas has a lot of decisions to make. Here in the next week, I'm going to pen a long article kind of breaking down everything that went wrong in the season. It's going to lay out kind of 3 parts. First part's going to lay out kind of what the expectation was coming in, what the belief was, general vibe around the team. Then the next part is going to talk about things like, did Dak Prescott regress? And clearly, in what specific ways did he regress? Where I compare stats and situational stats from last year to this year. Then we're going to take a look at things like play calling. What happened to this passing offense? And, from a play calling situational football, where did we fall short? I don't care about the Zeke suspension. It's not an excuse. Jerry will use it as one. He'll use Sean Lee's injury as one. He'll use Tyron's injuries as one. I'm not trying to hear that. Everyone has injuries. Zeke, you you killed us with that 6 games you missed. We probably win 2 of those 3 if you're there. So I'm going to take a look at all that, and then finally, the third part, I'm going to try and collaborate with Law, and we're going to talk specifically what Dallas needs and who we want them to target. At least 2 to 3 people at each of those positions we think they should target. But that's going to be the fun experiment of it. This is the Dallas prospect, and you know what? Draft season is the next big thing on our radar. It's time for us to really put our name to use. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm Darreck with the Dallas Prospect. If you want, support the show on Patreon. We're a small sports pop culture website, but you know what? We're trying our damnedest to grow. I'm trying to bring in paid staff and everything like that, editors, things that help me put out better content for you guys, and just in general, kind of build a community here. So yeah, until next time, guys, again, I'll be here in the good days and the bad. I'm here literally on Christmas Day, talking about something not fun to talk about, but you bleed blue, you gotta do it every day. You don't just do it in the good times. So until next time, guys, salute.